C-130 rolling down the strip.
C-130 rolling down the strip.
We on an airborne ranger, take a little trip.
An airborne ranger gonna take a little trip.
Welcome to Service Headline News. I am Marty Smith.
And I am Eric Perrott.
And we're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates pertinent to all servicemen and women. So sit back, get informed, and have a laugh as the Swearing In Podcast presents Service Headline News. Eric, it's good to see you again.
You too, Marty. It's always good to get with you.
Okay, so what happened last week, or the last couple of weeks, was the PACT Act. P-A-C-T. Act has passed. Joe Biden was supposed to sign it, I believe, today. We're doing this on Monday the 4th, or Monday the 8th. I don't know if he did, but I'm sure he will. But it did pass. So, what is it? The PACT Act stands for the Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act, better known as the PACT Act. So that's the burn pit stuff. That's been
certainly a shame that we had to give that a title.
It's well, and some of it's kind of revealing that we had to do a bill for this instead of just, hey, I'm feeling bad.
Something's
wrong. I've got asthma. I've got whatever. And I think it's because of all that burn pit. And the burn pit stuff is interesting. Because it's been brought up from Afghanistan and Iraq, but I think Vietnam did it for
sure
20 years.
Yeah,
It was,
when
right?
you pulled it out, for instance, of a field latrine.
Yeah, just like in Platoon when they got in trouble, they had to go
and
burn.
You're throwing
and
kerosene,
you dump diesel or kerosene on it, and you sit there till it burns off, and you dump some more.
You're inhaling that wonderful stuff.
Oh my God, it's just horrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, when the president signs it in, it'll mark a key moment in a 13-year-old fight to expand benefits for burn pit victims sickened in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the decades-old quest also to fully compensate Vietnam vets for their exposure to chemical defoliants. Now, I thought they had already acknowledged that Agent Orange did that. So maybe they rolled some stuff in there. You know how legislation is? I don't know the details of it. It's crazy.
Well, and I think as we're able to go forward and continue to research on lasting effects on our vets.
Right.
I think we find out a lot more information.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Each time.
Yeah, and it's going to be, like we just talked about, Gulf War syndrome.
Sure.
I don't know when they're going to unravel some of that stuff. But, I mean, it took these guys 40 years, 50 years before the government acknowledged, oh, yeah, we dumped Agent Orange on you. And that's probably a bad thing.
Yeah. Because originally, Agent Orange was just a defoliant, and it was supposed to be non-harmful, wouldn't hurt a thing.
Right. I wonder if these are the same doctors who are like, I don't think smoking causes cancer.
Right.
Or I don't think Agent Orange causes any problems.
Or a burn pit, inhaling that all day. And I would assume we're talking about different types of burn pits too, not only just from a latrine, but
I don't know
other
what
sources of things that were destroyed by being burned.
I guess. I mean, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it, but I don't know what else is burning over there. I remember when we were shooting artillery, and artillery powders segmented up. So how as far as you want to go, you take 3 bags off the total charge, you put the charge in there, and then you got these 3 bags left over. At the end of your shoot, first sergeant, gunnery sergeant would take it all out there, line all that black powder up, and burn it. But it was quick.
Sure.
Yeah, black powder burns like that. But there was a method to do it, and you'd light it, and it would burn all that excess powder out.
Well, I think you're going to find the same thing when, for instance, EOD, unexploded ordnance.
Right. Good point.
And they set a charge to it.
Good point.
I'm sure there's something to that as well.
But I don't want to say a burn pit. What are they? Is it trash? Is it bodies?
I would assume garbage.
Oh.
I don't think it would be bodies. Hopefully, we're not in the Middle Ages.
What else are you throwing in a burn pit?
But I would say the latrine and maybe garbage would be the
probably
biggest
latrine
two
is
things.
enough.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay. Unfortunately, even though the PACT Act is signed, Advocates say it won't be the end of the work on this issue. The next step is delivering the benefits to veterans and their families, estimated to cost around $300 billion over the next 10 years. $300 billion.
That's a huge number.
It's great. Over the next 10 years.
Yeah. And that's
What happens after 10 years?
That's a short period of time.
Right.
Man.
Separate from the congressional work, VA last year began revamping how it approaches illnesses believed linked to burn pit smoke in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. In the past, here's the bad part. In the past, the department stuck to strict scientific evidence before granting presumptive status for illnesses believed linked to military service. In other words, deny until we can really figure this out that it was
medical proof.
How do we link what you got to what you did?
It's almost impossible, especially in an immediate kind of, hey, I was deployed for 6 months.
Yeah.
I now feel bad.
Yeah.
Why do I feel bad? Why am I having these symptoms?
True. There's so many.
There's no way.
Just in a battlefield, there's so much running around there that's toxic. Everything's toxic.
And if it's deathly toxic, you're not going to get taken care of until you're dead.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You'll be gone before they figure out what occurred.
Right. Okay, so now the department uses a wider set of metrics to evaluate the claims, which has led to adding 12 respiratory illnesses and cancers to the list of conditions presumed caused by burn pits.
Wow.
Well, that's good.
That is good.
All right. Once the PACT Act is signed into law, these new processes will be codified, a move that veterans advocates say will be key in coming years to prevent long waits for department recognition of military injuries. Oh, first off, I should say that this article is from the Military Times and is done by a guy named Leo Shane. Other parts of the sweeping toxic exposure legislation will also go into effect immediately. Did you know this? Veterans currently get 5 years of medical coverage through the VA after leaving the service. Did you know that? I didn't know.
I didn't know that until my sister did. My sister got out of the Air Force.
Oh, she did?
And went back after she had separated over a number of years.
Yeah.
And was able to be taken care of through the VA.
But now they'll see that expanded to 10 years under the new law. So that's good.
Do we have a number of how many folks are potentially impacted?
Well, that's coming.
Okay. Wait your turn, Eric. Wait your turn.
No, that's it. That's a good question. The law calls for the VA to add 23 new conditions to the list of burn pit presumptive illnesses, including asthma, chronic bronchitis, and brain cancer. But those will be phased in over the next 3 years. For Vietnam veterans exposed to Agent Orange, presumptive status for monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, MGUS, goes into effect immediately. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. It sounds pretty significant.
Big word.
If they acronized it already.
Big word. We'll go with the short acronym.
The department has hired several hundred claims processors in recent months to deal with the glut of overdue disability claims, cases pending for more than 4 months. The figure was as high as 264,000 last fall, but now sits at about 165,000, roughly half of what it was before the coronavirus pandemic.
Wow.
So they say the advice is to apply now. If you're listening, go apply now. Go out to the website. I think they have places where you can register and you can apply for any kind of conditions. The Department of Defense has estimated nearly 3.5 million troops from recent wars may have suffered enough exposure to the smoke to cause health problems. So there's a 3.5 million waiting line.
So for those of you that were in the desert, I would say certainly if you saw it, stood near it, and you're not feeling well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have some registries that you can kind of report symptoms prior to this act. But you got to go out there to VA and look at it and register and get yourself in the system. As I say, only a small portion of that 3.5 million troops has signed up for VA's official burn pit registry, designed to help track health issues in that population. So bottom line is they passed the act. Good for them.
Yep.
But still, and they're not going to cut you a check tomorrow.
No. And hopefully our audience will get a little bit of an information piece from this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it applies to you, man, go
or
get
somebody
it
you
taken
know.
care of.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
tell them to go at least register. Yeah,
this
you
is
never know.
This is a big plus.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well,
that's
good
story number 1.
Good story, man. So you and I have talked about a number of things, and I want to do 2 short ones real quick. The first one is just a quick follow-up to last week. We were discussing the problems that the F-35 was having.
The ejection seat.
With the ejection seat.
That's right.
So I felt like I didn't know enough about it. So I said, I'm going to go dig in a little bit here. So it has become less of an issue than what we thought.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So the seat part, which was causing the initial issue, is called a cartridge. And this cartridge contains a magnesium powder that when it ignites will launch the ejection seat out of the aircraft frame with the pilot, hopefully, and not hurting him. We were wondering if anybody was killed or injured with this thing, and there has been no deaths or no injuries related to this issue.
Oh, that's good.
And as of August 5th, all the inspections that have been accomplished on all 4 services have only found 1 faulty set of cartridges. They were discovered at Hill Air Force Base. There's been no other anomalies found with the aircraft, nor found with any other aircraft that could have the same ejection seat. So apparently the bad cartridges came from a certain production batch. Once they remove
like
that batch, they should be good. So that's just a quick follow-up on the F-35.
Okay, not so bad.
You know, the concern of getting blown up and when you're being ejected out of the F-35 is...
Well, maybe we should give that lot to the Chinese who steal the plans like we were talking about.
I would love to do that. The other issue that I wanted to talk about real quick, and you and I have discussed it, are troop movements.
Yes.
If impossible without, going into classified information, of course. And we're certainly not wanting to identify troop movements that could get anybody hurt or killed. However, based on Miss Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, the U.S. and Indonesian country have decided that they're going to hold joint drills on Sumatra amid China concerns. The United States and Indonesian militaries began annual joint combat exercises Wednesday on Indonesia's Sumatra Island, joined for the first time by participants from other partner nations, signaling stronger ties amid growing maritime activity by China in the Indo-Pacific region.
Good.
So, with China doing their saber rattling, scaring everybody, we stepped up our presence. And that number, more than 5,000 soldiers from the U.S., Indonesia, Australia, Japan, and Singapore were participating in this year's exercise.
Army soldiers, I assume?
Yep. All branches, actually.
Okay.
All branches.
Okay.
Participating in this year's exercise, making this and them the largest since the drills were established in 2009.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a symbol of the U.S.-Indonesia bond and the growing relationship between land forces in this consequential region, General Flynn, the commander of U.S. Army Pacific, said in the statement. Land forces are the glue that binds the region's security architecture together in the heat of China's saber rattling. The exercises will last until 14 August, encompassing Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine drills. Earlier this year, the U.S. approved a $13.9 billion sale of advanced fighter jets to Indonesia. Because Indonesia, Jakarta, they're getting a little nervous.
Yeah.
So while Indonesia and China enjoy generally positive ties, Jakarta has expressed a lot of concern about Chinese encroachment on its exclusive economic zone in the South China Sea, which China claims virtually is its own in their entirety. So, again, troop movements.
Well, at least they were doing something.
And in support of that.
You know, it's disheartening when you, like I said, when you hear those China experts start talking about the number of ships we have and the number of ships they have. And I'm like, ay, you know?
Well, the comparison of weaponry, I think, like we identified last time, their whole process of creating a weapon system is trying to steal it from us.
Well, yeah, they're great copiers.
Yes.
They're great copycats.
I mean, there are pictures of the F-35, the Joint Strike Fighter, and they have one that looks exactly like it.
Well, look at that carrier they have. It looks just like those British carriers with that angled deck.
So again, let's give them the plans for the bad ejection seat.
Yeah, right. They may not be able to innovate, but what they can copy a
darn
crap
well.
load of.
Yes, darn well.
Okay, so just a little update here. Not a long story. A couple of weeks ago, we launched a Hellfire missile that killed Al Qaeda's, what is his first name? Ayman al-Zawahiri.
Well done, man. I would have never got
I practiced
that right.
a couple times on that. So he was on a rooftop, and they took him out with a Hellfire, and they noticed that there wasn't a lot of damage to the building. So they say, and no official has come out and said this, and this story is from Mike Stone and Idris Ali from Reuters, and they say that the fact that there wasn't much damage to it, they suspect it's a version of the Hellfire called an R9X, so a Hellfire missile. So it looks like a Hellfire missile, which is a missile with, the little clear kind of guidance system in the front. And what it does, there's no explosive on it. It's all kinetic. So as it's coming in, and I guess it has some kind of sensor to where it's close to the ground, they call them blades, but basically there's like these fins. There's like 6 fins that pop out from along the body, and they pop out vertical. Perpendicular to the body of the missile.
Okay.
Right? So as the missile's coming in, all of a sudden you've got these 6 tines.
Is that what helps guide it? Is that what helps? No.
That's what expands the damage.
Oh.
So all it is kinetic.
Wow.
So you get this missile coming in, it pops these tines out from along its body, and they spring forward. And now you got the missile with 6 rays of steel around it, and it just
Without seeing a picture, I'm having a hard time envisioning this thing.
Yeah, it's
How is it launched?
Same way. Same way from a drone, from a helicopter, whatever.
Okay.
Right? So
all right.
All these metal rods essentially are all recessed into the body of the missile.
Okay.
As it gets close to the ground, they spring out. So you see a missile, and now you got one sticking here, one sticking there, one sticking there, one sticking there.
So it stops the energy from expanding?
No, it just increases the width of whatever that missile hits. Now you have these, 2-foot metal rod sticking out from it.
Okay.
And it comes in and just makes a hole in whatever it's.
And zero collateral damage.
Well, there's nothing that explodes.
Okay.
So it's just all kinetic.
But I mean, in this particular instance, zero collateral damage except our bad guy.
Yes, I think it did a little bit of damage to the roof, but that was it.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, then they
because it was my understanding his family was inside the house at the time.
Right.
Okay.
And they were calling it the Ginsu Hellfire or the Knife Hellfire or something like that. So I thought, is it shooting metal blades out? And I was like, no, it's coming in and it's got these blades that are sticking out. And so as it comes in, it just makes this huge, 3-foot, 4-foot impact crater.
Sure.
With just kinetic energy. So that's what they use to take out Zawahiri.
Well, that's good. Because if we're going to take out any more of these guys, because they're going to be stepping up.
Much better than the Hellfire. We took out
like a whole city.
Well, we launched after the Afghanistan exit.
Right.
That was explosive. That blew up that whole car. That turned out that it was that guy just loading water into his car, civilian. So, so the R9X Hellfire missile.
Again, another X
Hellfire
thing. It always makes me think it's an X-Men.
It's
an X-Men toy, I got to tell you. Well, I've got an interesting one for you.
Good.
When we joined the service, and I don't know what your living looked like when you first joined the Army, but everybody thought when I joined the Air Force, the accommodations were always going to be wonderful. And
like you said, you didn't stay in the dorm buildings, right?
Right.
You stayed in the open bay ones,
mob
right?
dorms. Yeah. So I always said, well, no, it wasn't great.
Yeah.
And so you would think after I came in 81, you probably came in what, 80?
80, well, I was in
First time-
ROTC in 85.
Okay.
So.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So step up another 40 years later,
Right.
and the accommodations being provided by our military services are still struggling. So
Is that the Fort Bragg story?
it is.
Oh, nice. Good.
I couldn't help
Good.
but when we talk about continuing moisture and mold,
Oh, yeah.
I said, oh my goodness, more than 1,000 soldiers have to leave their barracks at Fort Bragg after an inspection found that conditions ripe for mold and other issues that makes them not fit for living in. However, we've been living in for some time.
It sounds like some future VA claims that they breathed in
Right?
mold.
Another
right?
reason to have the PACT Act.
Right.
Unbelievable. And when you talk about your own inspecting agencies, every installation,
Yeah.
every fort,
Yeah.
every Navy yard has some type of an inspection process.
They do, supposedly.
Wow. How does moisture and mold get so bad that you can't live in it? So listen to this. The audit found that 12 barracks in the Smoke Bomb Hill section of Fort Bragg did not meet modern HVAC standards. Military Times first reported the news that problems with the barracks include moisture levels above what is recommended, which could lead to mold growth. Approximately 1,200 soldiers stationed at the base have to be relocated. The Army intends to complete the process over the next 30 days in a phased approach, according to the statement given to Military Times. Currently, base commanders are working to identify places to move the affected troops. So when we talk about moving affected troops, now you're talking about cost, because you're going to have to put them at off-base residence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's not always enough room on base.
And if they're eating at the dining hall or the dining facility, now you got to give them vouchers for eating off base.
Absolutely. And now we're talking more money. It's the latest problem to plague the base, and also not even the first time mold or mold-like conditions force soldiers to be relocated. In 2020, approximately 200 soldiers from the 1st Special Forces Command were temporarily moved after mold was found in their living quarters. However, that only occurred after an anonymous complaint was filed, not because of an inspection. That same year, 3 families living on base filed a class action lawsuit against the base's housing partner for several issues with their non-post home, including mold.
Base housing.
Base housing.
So that's not barracks.
Well,
that's
initially it was in the Smoke Bomb Hill section.
Right.
That was barracks, but this is extended all the way into base housing. Among some of the issues that mold can lead to are respiratory problems with prolonged exposure.
Yep, there you go.
So living in that kind of condition can lead to all kinds of medical
of course,
things.
yeah.
It's unbelievable. So the base in North Carolina is home to approximately 53,000 soldiers and is the headquarters of the Army Airborne.
Yeah.
The relocation impacted multiple units,
101st
including
is
at least one falling under the Special Operations Command.
Oh, yeah.
And it's unclear how this will impact operations. Oh, well, I will tell you. It's going to cost you money. They're going to be off base. They're not going to be able to respond if it's on base.
I would imagine, though, Special Ops Command, I mean, they're not taking privates out of Special Ops, you know.
No.
Those guys are in for a couple. So, anyway, most of those guys are getting married and they're moving off base anyway, so.
Well, at least the Army intends to demolish most of the barracks. They were built in the 70s during the transition to the military being all voluntary and build new ones. My problem with this story is pre-prevention. My dad used to preach 6 P's to me. Pre-prevention prevents piss poor performance.
Yep.
Well,
that's right.
get out. Let's inspect these places.
Military is
where
not
your
very
people-
good at anticipating problems. They're great at responding.
Now, they will tell you they are. I know my
No, they're terrible
Air
at it.
Force was And where does all these vouchers, the money come from that's going to provide them this food off base?
Obviously from another accounting line, so he could turn his stuff in and go, look, I've met all your requirements.
You know, when we talk about the military being strategic thinkers, Strategic, big picture.
Well,
Don't
some
look
are
tactically. Let's look at the big picture.
Some are strategic.
What are the decisions and consequences of that decision that's going to happen when you make, let's take, 22,000 guys and put them off base? How is that going to
But you're also talking about decisions made by a man or a woman who are going to be there for 3 to 4 years. And then they're out.
True.
They don't have to suffer the consequences of what they decided.
Yeah.
All they know is that
I get you.
the general who's breathing down my neck says, cut your budget by this. All right, I did it. Now I'm PCSing.
Don't let me have any impact on your future.
Okay, for our final story today. Guess what, Eric?
What's up, Marty?
It's remember that R9X that I was just talking about, the Hellfire? Somebody came up with it so it doesn't explode. Brilliant, right?
A kinetic weapon. Absolutely.
What they're also working on is the Army. This is a story by Sarah Sigard from the Military Times. The Army is working on a tactical bra.
Okay. I like it so far.
There we go. That was the one hole in our capability. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
You may have to cut that piece out.
Yeah. The Army Tactical Brassiere is a product undergoing testing at the Army's Combat Capabilities Development Combat Soldier Center. In the fall, the Soldier Center's design pattern prototype team is expected to present an initial evaluation to the Army Uniform Board, which would establish the Army Tactical Brassiere as an official program of record.
Okay. Stop right there. I have a question.
Program of record.
I got it.
Okay.
Is the brassiere a form of body armor, or is it just tactical as in it's camouflage?
It has been labeled, this is from the article, it has been labeled as a, quote, tactical rather than sportswear item. End quote. So,
I am absolutely dying to know how it's tactical.
this began with a survey given to female soldiers on what type of functionality and preferences should be considered during initial design. It's meant to integrate into existing body armor and give an added level of protection to female soldiers.
All right. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
It's got a purpose. It's not just a camouflage bra.
Do flak vests, body armor,
No.
are they female, male, or are they unisex?
They were unisex.
At
least
they
the ones you and I
but
wore.
we've been out for a while.
Well, and now I think it's not a flag vest anymore. It's full on body armor.
yeah.
It will function as a flak vest to to take out a little bit
So are
a
there-
piece of shrapnel.
Cutouts or are there bulge outs?
I am not going to go down that road. I don't know, but I will tell you, as women play a much more prevalent role in combat operations,
Amen. Right?
I think whoever came up with this is at least thinking. I think it's a great idea.
The overall goal is to produce garments that not only protect the user but reduce the Okay, this is a little award bullet writing. Okay. Right? So listen to this statement. But reduce the cognitive burden on the female soldier caused by discomfort and ill fit. Cognitive burden. You ever have underwear that rid up on you?
Sure.
Did that cause you a cognitive burden?
No. And I would venture to say if you ask most females, they would tell you it's not a cognitive burden.
But that sounds like an award writer.
In a later show, we're going to have to define cognitive burden.
We got to follow up on this story. I think we're going to track this all year.
Cognitive burden.
Achieving this will improve the soldiers' overall readiness and performance levels, allowing them to focus on their mission. Okay, this is the best part. The effort is part of an ongoing campaign to tailor military uniform options to diverse body types. And there are currently 4 prototype models. Concepts A and B are pullover sports bras with padding and structured seams and a shelf style.
Shelf style.
Shelf style. It doesn't say, it just says shelf style.
Obviously, you and I are not women and have no freaking idea what you would be worrying about
True.
a shelf in your bra. I don't know.
Concept C is a compression bra with crossback straps, and Concept D has a zippered front closure with contoured seams and adjustable crossback straps. Okay, so
Do you see my mouth? Well, I'm at a loss for words.
Eric, I need you to tell me what kind of jockstrap you need to give you the best cognitive ability so you could focus on your mission.
All right.
G-string, old football jockstrap, well, coming up both sides, full cup.
This design
A huggy?
will encompass.
Elephant snout.
It's a furry. It's a furry. That's all I can say. I don't know, man. Oh,
Well,
goodness.
ongoing story. We're going to follow this, and hopefully our female service women
will enlighten us.
will be able to get a good piece of combat tech.
Yes, sir. Good segment, Marty.
Okay, well, that ends this week. On behalf of Master Sergeant Parada, I'd like to thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please leave a like and share the podcast with someone else. Let us know how we did in the comments, like you already have. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more service headline news. We'll see you next week, Eric.
All right, Marty. Next week.